that's not perfect. I missed a little note I wanted to hit there. So, in this little episode, howdy friends, good morning to you. It's about 11 a.m. here in East Nashville, Tennessee. I like shooting these videos, I don't put a lot of production effort into these, but with my little iPhone and my little tripod here in my little music room in my little house in the little neighborhood of East Nashville, I like to shoot these videos around this time of day because the light coming in these windows is better, I think. It's warmer and less obtrusive and shadowy than these I use these little lights sometimes, which are, again, extremely low production. But, it sounds good enough and it looks good enough, so I just kind of rock on so I can get on with the rest of my life and not cultivating my yearnings to be a professional YouTuber. Hey, speaking of that, guys, we're closing in on 100,000 subscribers, which I haven't seen that many zeros since my 8th grade report card. Did I even go to the 8th grade? I can't remember at this point. But whatever happened back then in those good old days, I'm sure glad that for good, bad, or indifferent, I'm glad they worked out the way they did, because it's like a time machine. If you know how they do on those old movies like Back to the Future, where they always say if you go back in time in a time machine, you don't want to change you don't even want to move one thing on the table because it would alter the entire future, right? So that's kind of how I think about my life in the past, growing up on the Gulf Coast in a crazy and partying, wild musician, awesome parents, by the way. It wasn't them, it was my crazy uncles and all the musician friends that we had that corrupted me as a young teenager. But I'm so glad they did, and I'm so glad that it all worked out the way it did. I'm glad I quit school. I'm glad that I don't have much of a music education, because that's proven to be a good way to make a living doing it and a good way to show other people how to do it. And I'm not kidding. I am, of course, kidding, but I'm not kidding. Look, the Brett Popper course is not on sale anymore, but it's still at a very reasonable price. And the thing about that is, for the price of a pair of tennis shoes or a pair of blue jeans, you could have this amazing guitar course. The Telecaster, Masters of the Telecaster Camp, is pre-selling tickets today. Tickets went on pre-sale today, March the 20th. I think that's what today is. This is an amazing lineup. I'll try to put a photo at the end of this video so you can see the people that are going to be on there. I'm amazed that I'm asked to do these things. And so I'm going to be there with a bunch of my friends, Red Volkart and G.E. Smith and Johnny Highland and a bunch of these Telecaster guys. This is not country specific, by the way. It's all music. Bill Frisell was there last year and all these amazing cats. But we're doing that again this year, and it's just announcing. I'll put the link below. Please, friends, and I'm going to get to some cool guitar shit here in a minute, I promise. But can you please do me a favor? And if you're watching the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I want to hit 100,000 followers. It's a goal. I'm an OCD. I want to hit that nice round number. And then please do me another favor. Join the mailing list, because I'm going to push up on you, friends, for a little support. I know you watch the channel and you send nice comments and stuff like that, but here's some things that are lacking in old GT's world of social media. The getting people to subscribe that watch the channel. If you're getting something out of this and you haven't bought a course and gone down the real professional route that we do, just hit the tip jug. Throw something in there, just so I can feel like I'm back at Roberts, hustling the tip jug on Wednesday through Saturday night in 2002. Hit the tip jug, friends. Old GT would appreciate that. And, I don't ever solicit anything on here. So when I do, I appreciate you being responsive and understanding of that. Because, in the world these days, we do have to make a living. Things are getting expensive. Now, I'm not crying the blues by any means, but I do want to play the blues. I haven't even had any coffee yet. Could you believe? No wonder nobody lives with me. Here's the thing also. I'm going to Cincinnati to teach a clinic, leaving tomorrow afternoon. I'm taking my Danocaster, this trusted Danocaster, to Dan Strain today. I'm going to drop it off with him because it's that time of year again, folks, where all your guitar necks get crazy. And so I'm going to get a little truss rod adjustment. I'm going to get my intonation adjusted, which I do about once or twice a year. I'm going to get the nut looked at so everything's ringing clean and clear and everything's nice and in tune. So Going to get a little adjustment with the guitar. But in this little episode, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I feel about chord progressions and what that is and what that really means and how that can affect your guitaring and your musicianship from here on out. Okay, and look, I didn't go to Berkeley, so don't crucify me in the comments because I didn't give you the Greek description of what a chord progression is. Okay, I don't care and I don't go there. Here's what it means to me, and I appreciate you following along and acting accordingly. Man, I must be having a stroke or something because I am having a real hard time articulating some words these days, and maybe it's just because I've got so much on my mind and so much that I feel like I need to tell the world. Maybe I need to slow down a little bit. Guys, tell me to relax and just slow down a little bit. I'm working on it. It might happen in 10 years. You got to leave the country for a proper vacation. You got to get away to really slow down. So here's what I think about this chord progression shit, guys. That chord progression that I played a minute ago is brilliant for teachings. There's so many lessons in that. You've seen me do it before, but I'm coming back. I'm circling back. I'm putting a fresh coat of paint on this thing. It's E major, and I recommend learning this in a bunch of keys. Write the numbers out, and I'll tell you what those are in a minute. Write the numbers out and learn this progression in all the keys. Make that a homework assignment. I'm giving you a homework assignment. So this is E, which will be the 1, to A flat dominant 7. Don't get scared. A flat dominant 7, which is the 3 dominant 7. And the reason it's not a minor, because I know you're going to tell me it needs to be a minor, which it doesn't. You can use any chords you want in any song you want. But don't forget what Bill Monroe said. If you put too many chords in your number, you'll ruin your number. Anyway, so there's no rules, man. This is the thing, but if it sounds good, it is good. So this is called a secondary dominant, which means in the middle of this 3-chord progression, basically E, A, and B, it's based on 3 chords. We're inserting a common chord relationship, which this would now take on the property of the 5 chord, going to what we would perceive as the 1 chord. Bear with me because we're in the key of E, but what I'm saying is this is a slight insertion of a chord relationship, and that's how I'm thinking about it. This now becomes the 5 chord of this chord for a split second. That's just how you're thinking about it, because now I need to properly, the major pentatonic ain't going to work over this. And when you go there, so you got to do, right? Or, how nice does that sound? It's perfect over the chord. So that's a common chord relationship. This is like the relationship from the 1 to the 5. That's why I call it secondary dominant. Okay, I'm sure that's going to spark a lot of confusion and a lot of chords, but it does make sense to me in a very minute theory explanation. So moving right along, 1 to A flat dominant 7, the 3 dominant 7 chord, to C sharp minor 7 or C sharp minor, the 6 minor, to the E7, which is a passing chord, back to the 1-7, to the 4 A, to the 5 B or B7, back to the 1. Then guess what? Turn around. Top of the progression then moves back to the top of that turnaround brings us to the top of the progression. Guess what? You can substitute B minor 7 to E9 for that little change right there. That's really cool. So that would sound like this. Here's the turnaround. E, walk up to B, then back to the top of the progression. This is a chord progression. Okay, so this is also a chord progression. Watch this. top of the progression, right? So a progression to me is a sequence of chords that make sense, hopefully, and that are consistent. And so you can't just play. It's like going and sitting in with somebody and they just want to play a bunch of random chords. It's like if you're playing a bunch of random chords and they're changing differently every time, I have no idea how to confidently play over that chord change. And so this is where it gets fun to me. The chord progressions are based on the blues changes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're counting in 4, 4, 4. And the blues progression, you have to internalize that change, because when you're playing lead guitar, you have to internalize the change of those chords, because that's driving your single note soloing. And so your phrasing and everything is geared towards the internalization of the blues progression. All the music you've ever heard from, arguably from America, England, anywhere but, when it gets, things get real specific, Indian music, Brazilian, maybe, who knows. But man, it's that pulse that we know as Americans as the blues. And it all came from there. Even if you don't like the blues and you don't think it's important, you would be doing yourself a huge favor to get real familiar with it. Now, there's a bunch of different ways that you can play the blues, but it's not going to be like this. If I go 1, 2, 3, and 1, it's like 1, 2, 3. That doesn't work. It's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's like a turnaround, right? Okay, that's a quick change. You could also do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's another example of that. There's quick changes and there's slow changes, but it's all based on the pulse. Like, when if somebody plays Key to the Highway, even something like that, 1, 2, 5, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, do the 4, 1, do the 5, to the highway, right? 4. That kind of thing. So trust me, this is huge. So when I'm playing, anything else, it's affected by the foundation and the bottom level, fundamental of that change. Knowing those changes inside and out. If you get lost in any variation of the blues progression, then you need to go back and really, really, really familiarize yourself with some blues. Put on Eric Clapton, From the Cradle. Nothing weird on that record, but some killing straight ahead blues. Put on some Stevie Ray Vaughan. Straight ahead blues. It ain't no fancy jazz changes. Put on some B.B. King. Put on, some Albert King. Get deep, go deep, the Delta guys, they were in another league. They would do all kinds of crazy, things because they're playing by themselves on acoustic guitar. They didn't have a band that they had to be, that they had to be held accountable to coming back to the right change. They did all kinds of crazy shit. But that's a world to get into also. I mean, that's a great thing. If you can keep some of this stuff going. Whatever, just keep some of that dead thumb going. You know, anything you want to do, but try to keep the rhythm going, and definitely don't forget about really internalizing those blues changes. Because man, when I'm sitting around here just noodling around, I'm thinking about the internal kind of pulse and heartbeat of going to the next chord. So when you guys say, "Man, Guthrie's playing," you know, he's playing around here, but I can hear the chords changing. That means I've got some sort of a chord progression or semblance of a chord coming up or something. I'm hearing that when I'm playing, and it's going somewhere, hopefully. And so this is a huge thing to think about, guys. And I'll start, you know, boning up on my ability to eloquently explain more of this concept. But please think about this, and please comment, and please subscribe, and please join the mailing list at my website, GuthrieTrap.com. I don't ever tell you to do anything like this, guys, but it's time to push up on it a little bit, and we got to keep growing. I'm addicted to the growth, and so let's keep hustling. Let's keep learning. We got a great community here. You know, there was thousands of positive, life-changing comments on the Brett Papa course, and only 2 negative ones, and they were really bad, and we blocked those guys. But anyway, man, I had a guy come up to me, one of the guys that works at Gruen's. I did an amazing guitar immersion experience yesterday, by the way, with a guy from the Bay Area. And we had a great time, dug in and did, you know, several hours of deep dive guitar education right in this room. Had a great breakfast, great conversation, took a beautiful walk, and, you know, great day. Had some great lunch, went and toured the guitar shops, took a spin around Nashville, met some characters, went and saw some live music last night, had a great dinner. It was amazing. So don't forget about the guitar immersion experience, as I call it, the Nashville Guitar Immersion Experience. And you can book those also, as well as all the other lesson stuff on my website. Don't forget to check out the website, GuthrieTrap.com. But I was at Gruen's. We were at Gruen's yesterday and walked in and had a couple great conversations with the guys there. And one of the dudes that works in the repair shop came down and I won't tell you his name just for, you know, out of respect, but he came down and he goes, "Man," he goes, "I got to tell you," he goes, "that video you made on, you know, not drinking and having some anxiety and stuff," he goes, "Man, my mom watched that and she's been having a hard time, and she said, man, tell Guthrie that, man, thanks for sharing that video really resonated with me, and she hasn't had a drink since that video." And I was like, I almost started crying, man. I gave the guy a big hug and I just said, "Man, thanks so much." And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, I've been through it too, man." And I said, "Well, dude, we're all in it together." I said, "You know, it's one day at a time. We can just do the best we can." You know, I was lucky that I never let anything get super out of control. I always pulled the reins back right before the shit hit the fan. And so I've been lucky and smart enough, hopefully, to not, you know, have any colossal disasters, knock on wood, you know, like I said, one day at a time. But man, what a sweet thing to hear yesterday. And just, I'm having a good time living life and having fun, and things are really starting to, they've always been really good. They're getting really, 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 really good. And so thanks to you guys for all the support, man. When you support things like this, it changes our lives. And so I do appreciate it. Telecasting to you from East Nashville, Tennessee. I'm gonna go get some coffee and some breakfast and go take my guitar to Dan Strain, and then I'm teaching a few lessons this afternoon, packing up and heading to Cincinnati, Ohio tomorrow. I'm borrowing a guitar at the clinic tomorrow because flying with an instrument is getting to be such a pain in the ass. I'm not flying with my guitar. We'll see what happens in the future, but it's getting weird out there. All right, friends, thanks a bunch. We'll see you soon. Signing off.